This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. As everybody probably knows, we are a couple days away from the 2025 election night in places like Virginia and New Jersey, and it seems like President Trump is going all in both these races, as according to Axios, President Trump's team is pouring millions of dollars into both Virginia and New Jersey. Yes, this is real. This ain't some BS rumor. It is confirmed that yes, President Trump's team, they are spending millions of dollars in a last-ditch effort to try to win not just New Jersey, but even Virginia. President Trump's political operation is digging into its massive war chest to bankroll a multi-million-dollar voter turnout effort in the final days of the New Jersey and Virginia governor races, Axios has learned. Which, listen, I wish they would have done this 2 or 3 months ago. They should have done this back in September or even October if they really wanted to. Why wait till the last millisecond to spend millions of dollars? Now, to be fair, they are spending a bunch of money trying to get these voters out to vote. So that's a good thing. I get that. That's good. But they should have did this back in September with early voting, because guess what? With early voting, you would have had more opportunities to get people out to vote. Obviously, if there's like 30 days of early voting, guess what? There's more chances for these people to say, oh, you know what? I'll vote today. Each state is getting a $1 million plus micro-targeting effort aimed at Trump supporters and other Republicans who usually skip off your elections. And this is a big deal, that Republicans, or at least Team Trump, that's where they're putting the money towards. Now, again, they should have done this weeks ago, but at the bare minimum, they're spending money and they're targeting not just all Republican voters, they're targeting the low-propensity Trump supporter. And for those that don't know, the Republican Party of today, and really most Trump supporters, they're usually low-propensity voters, meaning they don't usually vote in off-year elections. They might, in a best-case scenario, vote in the presidential year, only because Trump is on the ballot or whatever. That's it, though. They vote in one election maybe every 4 years, and that's it. They don't vote for these off-year races. They don't vote for governor, don't vote in midterms. No, they only vote in presidential races. Well, Team Trump is realizing, oh, wait a minute. This is why Republicans keep underperforming Trump without Trump on the ballot. It's because these low-propensity voters, they're just not voting. The fact that the Republican Party still doesn't really get this, it seems like they're slowly realizing that, oh yeah, we're the party of high turnout, meaning the higher the turnout, the better it is for us. That's what it seems like is the case right now. It seems like Republicans, at least in Team Trump, they're realizing this, that they gotta get these people out to vote. And they're spending $1 million in both New Jersey and Virginia. The White House knows it's much harder to turn out pro-Trump voters and other Republicans when Trump himself isn't on the ballot. Yeah, it took them this long to figure that one out, but they must have realized, oh yeah, this is why we're losing. We're losing because these voters, they don't like the Republican Party. They may not like Democrats, but you got to give these people a reason to vote. And do you really think they're excited to vote for Winsome Sears in Virginia? Maybe Chitterelli in New Jersey because he's running a really good campaign and he's gotten the base behind him. That's a different story. But really in Virginia, why would people want to vote for Winsome Sears? Now you could argue, well, it's because of Jason Mraz and Jay Jones. I get that, but that's not really, that should not be the number one reason why people are voting, just to stop Jay Jones. That's a weak reason. And that's why in some areas, though, in Virginia, it's weird. There's actually some metrics out there indicating turnout's actually good for us. But still, there's a lot of Trump voters. They just don't vote. The Trump operation views Tuesday's races as tough, but also a lab to determine how to turn out voters heading into 2026. Again, they should have done this back in September. Why wait? You could have did this 3 months ago and figure out, okay, this is how we get people out to vote early. And then on election day, it's much easier for us to get people out to vote. At least theoretically. But either way, at the bare minimum, they are spending $1 million in both states. Again, should have did this back in September, but you know what? They must realize there is a chance. Is it likely we can win Virginia, at least for the governor race? Maybe not, but who knows? Maybe something crazy does happen. Maybe the J. Jones scandal was so bad, and a lot of these polls are not really catching on to it, and it turns out that it did in fact hurt Spanberger a lot more than we thought. The RGA, they spent a lot of money the last couple of weeks here. Who knows? New Jersey, I think, is a lot easier to win. And maybe with enough turnout for Republicans, you could potentially win. Virginia has always been an incubator for testing tactics for the midterm election. A Trump advisor told Axios, that's true, but really, again, do this back in September. Maybe they did plan for this. I don't know for sure. But maybe they were planning this for months that, okay, we have a chance in New Jersey. We kind of have an early vote operation, though it's not going as good as we want it to. You know what? Screw it. Go all in New Jersey for Election Day. Maybe that's the case. In New Jersey, the total now invested far surpasses what the Trump operation spent 8 years ago, when the pro-Trump forces essentially abandoned the state. Towards the end of the campaign, Republicans say, well, that race was a disaster 8 years ago. We had no chance. We lost by 12 points or whatever. So yeah, it's a different story. Now, you have a strong candidate running a good campaign who really just needs the turnout. If he gets Republicans out to vote, you're going to win, more than likely. In the 2017 New Jersey governor's election, Republicans got only a little more than half of the votes Trump received when he was on the ballot there the previous year. In Virginia, Republicans got 2/3 of Trump's vote total, and pro-Trump entities, including the RNC, are feeling a 72-hour program and to turn out GOP voters, where Republicans are identifying voters who are less likely to turn out by examining their voting histories in off-year elections. Took them this long. That's a part that frustrates me the most about this. You should have known by now that these voters, they just don't vote. They don't vote in off-year elections. You got to convince them to vote because of this crap right here. I mean, even back in 2017, there were signs that, oh, these voters just never vote. And that's why Republicans got absolutely crushed in New Jersey. They went to 1. But if Trump voters actually voted, who knows? Maybe there's a chance that they could have got the race, at least a more respectable defeat. You're not going to win that race, but who knows? Maybe within 10 or 5 or whatever. Operatives are also pouring over lists of voters the Trump campaign identified as less dependable heading into the 2024 election. The operatives plan to then reach out to these voters through phone banking and digital and social media ads. In New Jersey, some money is being spent on mailers. This is good stuff. Even if it's too late, good. They're finally realizing you got to get these people out to vote. You have to get these people out to vote. If they don't vote, it doesn't matter what percent of the vote Jack gets with Democrats. You just can't win in New Jersey. You cannot have a turnout advantage for Dems that big. So, if these voters actually go out and vote on Election Day, we have a ball game. In Virginia, much of the focus is on the areas of the state where Trump performed well, including the Richmond and Virginia Beach suburbs and rural Southwest Virginia. That's good. And in Virginia, if Sears wants to win, she has to, of course, do better in places like Prince William, Fairfax, Loudoun, Richmond, Henrico. These Democrat areas, of course, you got to do better in, and you got to flip a place like Virginia Beach. Yeah, of course. But really, the election for her to have any chance of winning will be decided, funny enough, in the southwestern half of the state, or the Commonwealth, excuse me, because there's a lot of votes over here. I mean, people make it sound like nobody, yeah, it's not as much as, say, like Loudoun County, but you add it up, there's a couple thousand there, a couple thousand here, there, 20,000 there. And these areas, they're blood red. They vote for Trump by 70, 80 points. It adds up. And if you don't get these people out to vote, same thing in a place like Hanover, if these voters just don't vote, it doesn't matter what you do in Loudoun. You're screwed because just sheer turnout alone would cancel out any gains made in a place like Loudoun, Prince William, or Fairfax. That's why it's critical to get these voters out to vote. Trump himself is holding tele-rallies to rally his supporters, which he's done a couple of these already. He held one on Thursday for the Republicans in Virginia. And before he went to Asia, he actually held a similar rally in New Jersey. Well, now it sounds like Trump is going to hold a bunch of them on Monday evening as a last-ditch effort to try to convince these voters to vote. Get out to vote for Jack Ciattarelli, to vote for Winsome Sears, Meares, Reed, etc., and Republicans down ballot. That's what it sounds like the strategy is. You're spending in the last 72 hours roughly $1 million in both states. At the last millisecond, you're going to have Trump do a bunch of tele-rallies in a last-ditch effort to try to get these people out to vote. Is it enough to win Virginia? Maybe not. Maybe it's enough for Sears to lose by like 6 or 7, which at that point, you already got the AG race. Maybe you win the lieutenant governor race in that scenario. But in New Jersey, though, that could be the difference between Cheryl winning or Ciattarelli winning. So we'll see what happens the next couple of days. But this is huge. The Republicans are finally realizing, oh, we're underperforming Trump because of shit turnout. These voters, they don't vote. The fact it took this long is kind of pathetic, but to be fair, this is the GOP. Now it seems like they're slowly realizing, yeah, you get these people to vote. If these people don't vote, you really can't. You really can't win these races, no matter how much better you do in a place like Fairfax or Loudoun County or even like Jersey City, New Jersey. If Trump voters are just not voting, you're screwed. Now, again, I'm not saying this changes much. I'm not saying it's going to for sure make it where Ciattarelli wins or Sears pulls off the upset, but who knows? You're talking about potentially at least a few thousand voters that weren't going to vote now voting, maybe even more. We shall see on election day how many people actually vote because of this operation. And if they would expand upon this for next year, maybe it helps Republicans even more. Maybe this is a new strategy that they've been working on, and they're finally using it. Which, again, they should have done this weeks ago, but whatever. At this point, it's better late than never to spend some kind of money in a last-ditch effort. And maybe we pull off the upset in both New Jersey and, best case scenario, maybe in Virginia. But we'll see. The Republican Party, though, they have to understand this is how you win. Target these Trump voters that are unlikely to vote, because that's the only way you're going to win. You're not going to win by convincing enough Democrats. Maybe if you do crazy margins with them, sure. But realistically, you have a much better chance at just turning out all these Trump voters and then convincing just enough halfway sane Democrats to vote for you. I think that's the only thing you can really do to really maximize your chances of winning in a place like New Jersey, Virginia, and all of that. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.